The gunshot echoed across the park like a crack of thunder, sending pigeons exploding into the air and freezing every heartbeat in place. In the same instant, a golden brown dog tore free from its leash, sprinting toward a man holding a weapon. No one had seen it coming, least of all the powerful CEO who had just mocked the quiet stranger walking that very dog. Ethan Cole had everything money could buy: a glass-walled penthouse, a black luxury car, a reputation that made people straighten their backs when he entered a room. As the CEO of a tech empire, he was used to commanding attention and getting results. That morning, he decided to take a walk through Riverside Park to clear his head before a high-stakes board meeting. He strode along the paved path in an expensive coat, speaking sharply into his phone, barely noticing the world around him. Then he saw them, a man in worn sneakers and a faded jacket, walking an old-looking dog on a simple leash. The dog's fur was patchy in places, its movements calm and unhurried. The man, perhaps in his late 30s, kept his eyes on the path, his posture modest and reserved. Ethan scoffed under his breath and muttered into his phone, "Unbelievable. Some people really have no ambition. Look at this guy, probably spends his days doing nothing but walking that mutt." The man heard him. He paused, met Ethan's eyes for a brief moment, and gave a polite nod. "Good morning," he said softly. Ethan didn't respond. He turned away, smirking, unaware that he had just dismissed a life he knew nothing about. The man's name was Daniel Reyes. 2 years earlier, he had been a decorated canine officer, serving alongside his partner, Max, the same dog Ethan had just mocked. They had been inseparable on the force, saving lives, chasing down criminals, and trusting each other with a loyalty deeper than words. But everything changed the night Daniel took a bullet meant for a child during a robbery. The injury ended his police career, and Max was retired soon after due to age and joint issues. Now Daniel lived quietly, working part-time at a hardware store and spending his mornings walking Max through the park. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't impressive to strangers. But to Daniel, it was a life built on gratitude, for surviving, for companionship, for the simple peace he'd almost lost. Minutes after Ethan passed them, the calm of the park shattered. A man in a hoodie burst from behind a row of trees, clutching a pistol. He grabbed a woman's purse and shoved her to the ground. Screams erupted. People scattered in panic. The armed man ran straight toward the main path. Ethan froze. His phone slipped from his hand and hit the pavement. For the first time in his life, his money, his influence, his status, none of it could protect him. The gunman locked eyes with him, raising the weapon. Before Ethan could even scream, Max broke into a run. The old dog moved with a speed that defied his age, muscles remembering what years had trained them to do. Daniel shouted his name, fear ripping through his chest, but Max didn't hesitate. He launched himself at the gunman, clamping his jaws onto the man's arm. The gun fired into the air. The criminal screamed, stumbling backward as Max held on, shaking with controlled ferocity. Daniel sprinted forward, tackling the man to the ground. With a strength he didn't know he still had, he pinned the attacker and knocked the gun away. People rushed in, some calling the police, others helping restrain the man until officers arrived. Ethan stood there, trembling. His legs felt like they belonged to someone else. He had been seconds from dying. He watched as Daniel knelt beside Max, cradling the dog's head, whispering praise and reassurance. Max's breathing was heavy, but his eyes were steady. Proud. When the police took statements and the ambulance arrived to check on everyone, Ethan finally found the courage to approach Daniel. I'm the man who mocked you earlier," Ethan said quietly, his voice unrecognizable to himself. "Your dog just saved my life." Daniel looked up, surprised. His eyes were tired but kind. "He's always been a hero," he said. "Long before today." Ethan swallowed. "I judged you. I judged him. I'm sorry." Daniel nodded. "Most people do. It's easier to assume than to understand." In the days that followed, the story went viral. News outlets called Max a miracle dog. Reporters wanted interviews. Social media celebrated the retired canine who took down an armed criminal. But the story that stayed with Ethan wasn't about heroism, it was about humility. He visited Daniel a week later, bringing a bag of high-quality dog food and a check he hesitated to hand over. For Max's medical care, he said. And, for you. Daniel pushed the check back gently. I appreciate it, but we're okay. Ethan shook his head. Let me help, please. I owe you both more than I can ever repay. They talked for hours that afternoon. Daniel told him about his career, his injury, the quiet life he now lived. Ethan told him about his own loneliness, the pressure, the emptiness he felt despite his success. For the first time in years, Ethan felt grounded. Months later, Ethan funded a community program for retired service animals and injured officers, inspired by Daniel and Max. He named it the Second Chance Initiative. And every morning, when Ethan walked through Riverside Park, he did so differently, slower, more aware, nodding to strangers, sometimes stopping to pet dogs. Because he had learned a lesson no boardroom ever taught him. Never measure a life by appearances. You never know the quiet hero walking right past you. And sometimes, the one you mock is the one who will save you when it matters most.